Week 1 is here. I just submitted my cash and GPP main slate write-ups. They should be out soon on the Fantasy Footballers DFS Pass. And obviously, I think it's very important to take a top-down approach, a big picture approach, before I just write up a player. So I kind of want to bring some more context to everything now because there's some major storylines and major mismatches that I think are going to dictate this slate and kind of, determine how things play out. One, the Ravens rushing offense, best in football overall when you include Lamar Jackson, versus the Browns run defense, one of the worst in the game. They have injuries at linebacker. They lost linebackers in free agency. I wrote all of that up. So something is going to pop off there, whether it's Lamar at quarterback, whether it's Ingram before, Dobbins takes over maybe at some point throughout the year. Maybe it is Dobbins. Number 2, similar situation. Colts offensive line versus the Jags awful defense. Like I said, similar situation. Colts best offensive line according to Pro Football Focus. You get the quarterback upgrade in Rivers. The Jaguars defense, they're going to be, probably the worst team in the league. They're going to be awful. Traded all their good players away, let them go. So whether it's Jonathan Taylor, whether it's Marlon Mack who gets the veteran deference in week 1, these players are going to be solid. In cash, we want to be able to rely on one player, but at the end of the day, both have multi-touchdown upside. So very interesting. And honestly, in both cash and tournaments, especially because their prices are a little bit more affordable. Number 3, and this is really this whole game, my favorite game, the Seahawks and Falcons, Russ versus Matt Ryan, but especially Russ versus the Falcons pass D. We know the Falcons pass D is not very good. AJ Terrell, welcome to the NFL. You get to try to guard Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf against one of probably the top 10 players in NFL history when it's all said and done, Russell Wilson. So obviously the double stack is very easy. Narrow target distribution there with those two guys. So wheels up for Russ, all in on Russ. He's my favorite quarterback. This maybe even should be ranked higher. Josh Jacobs getting to go against the Panthers defense. I've obviously been all over this. If you've been paying any attention to any of my ignorant tweets, the Panthers defense is going to be atrocious, potentially historically bad. They were terrible against the run last year. That was with Luke Kuechly. Josh Jacobs got some of the highest volume in the league last year. Now some of these pass catchers that I admittedly was concerned with, Lynn Bowden way more than Theo Riddick, but both of them no longer on the team. Jacobs is going to get the volume in one of my favorite games of the week, so giddy up there. Got to talk about Kittle. George Kittle going against Arizona. Yes, Arizona did draft, I'm forgetting his name right now, but they did draft the guy in the first round to cover the middle of the field. But again, welcome to the NFL moment. You have to cover George Kittle, freaking monster. Good luck. My money's on Kittle. Kittle has multi-touchdown upside in this game, and he hasn't scored the touchdowns. At some point, he's going to. He's expensive. How many people are going to buy in when other stud tight ends have matchups as well? So got to make sure you have some Kittle, especially in tournaments, because the upside is there. And then really, like I talked about, just games in general, the Seahawks and Falcons game, we want to run game stacks, right? So that game, Panthers and Raiders, if you guys have been paying attention, I'm super high on Teddy Bridgewater, DJ Moore, obviously Christian McCaffrey, and then my guys, Curtis Samuel. Raiders have some interesting young guys. Bears and Lions game. Think that that's potentially going to be a high-scoring game. You've got Matt Stafford coming back, who is dominating the league last year. You have Trubisky, who actually historically has played well, at least recently, against the Lions. Lions defense is going to be bad as well. They've had a lot of changeover. I believe defensive coordinator, I should say. So there's a lot of upside there, a lot of intriguing pieces. Cohen, A-Rob, Anthony Miller, and then everybody on Detroit, because I'm a Stafford truther. I like Stafford and his stacks, Kenny G, Marvin Jones, Hawkinson, even Danny Amendola in tournaments. And we can't forget about the Cardinals and 49ers game. The Cardinals played them tough both times they played last year. Why I like Kittle, because there should be some shootout potential here on both sides of the ball, so don't forget about that. And then just while I'm rambling, some exciting unveils to exploit, because the majority of our competition likes to wait and see it before they believe it, right? But when we're trying to win and beat thousands of people, we want to be ahead of the curve so we can brag, we can say I told you so, and we can flaunt those screenshots and that money. So who are those type of guys? Cam Newton is the first one that comes to mind. He's healthy. He's a captain. He's at home against the Dolphins. He gets Bill Belichick and Josh McDaniels behind him. Stephon Diggs is another one. Nobody can cover him, especially on the Jets. And although it's very volatile, it should be, because I'm not the biggest Josh Allen guy. Josh Allen fits perfectly with what Stephon Diggs wants to do. Diggs, one of the best wide receivers in football. If they hook up for 2 deep touchdowns, are you going to be surprised against a tanking, awful Adam Gase-led Jets team? No, and people are going to want to see it first. So you want to have some exposure in tournaments. I talked about it with Teddy Bridgewater. People will want to see it. Tyrod Taylor. Actually, that's the one I skipped over earlier. The Chargers, basically everything that they have is a good matchup against the Bengals' bad defense. Bengals tried to upgrade at cornerback. Now Trey Waynes is already out for the year. Joe Burrow should make things more interesting. So Tyrod is interesting. Obviously, Eckler, one of the best running back plays. Without likely Mike Williams, it sounds like, both Keenan Allen and Hunter Henry are interesting because there's no really other pieces on that team. So that's a good matchup to look at. Obviously, Antonio Gibson, he's more chalk, though, but some people will be afraid to play him because we haven't seen it yet. Jonathan Taylor, J.K. Dobbins, I talked about the mismatches there in perfect situations. Would we be surprised if either one of them breaks a 70-yard touchdown? I won't be. I think I'll leave it at that. Michael Pittman could catch a touchdown, too, but it depends on playing time. Exciting times ahead. I spoke enough already. Check out the Cash and GPP articles where I motor mouth there as well. I've got lots of thoughts and maybe more videos to come.